Fernando ready, and the strike two pitch is hit back to the box, dribbling to second. Samuel on the bag, throws to first, double play. Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
The famous Vince Scully call back in June of 1990. Of course, Fernando Valenzuela was an icon in Los Angeles as well as the country of Mexico. This is the Sports Extra page, the back page basically of the Los Angeles Times. Fernando Valenzuela, 1960 to 2024, the stuff of legend, passing away way too soon at the age of 63. There is nobody on this planet that knows Fernando Valenzuela better or understands what Fernandomania meant than my next guest. Joining me now is Jaime Jarrín, Hall of Fame broadcaster, spent 64 years behind the microphone as the Spanish voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Jaime, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss because I know how close you were to Fernando and his family. But you had a very special relationship with him. You weren't just a broadcaster talking about this young 19-year-old left-handed pitcher from Sonora, Mexico. Tell us the relationship that you had with him and how that relationship started as his interpreter when he was such a young man.
Thank you very much, Alanna, for having me on. This is a very tough time for me to speak about Fernando because I was able to be with him for so long, since the day that he arrived into the United States in September 1980. We were playing in Houston, and he reported to the Dodgers in Houston. Usually, I used to go down to the clubhouse to greet those Latin players that come to the Dodgers, to welcome them to the organization. So on that occasion, I went down and I met Fernando, a very young kid, 19 years old, a little bit chubby, long hair, Indian features, no English at all. So he was very, very reserved. He was very shy at the beginning. And I was able to, it's a great blessing to be able to be with him in so many places, the White House in Washington. And it was really very special, Fernando, regarding me, professional talking.
You knew him right when he came up, and you said, Jaime, that Fernandomania didn't start in 1981. It started in 1980. You knew the first batter that he faced, obviously, was Bruce Benedict, that catcher for the Astros at the time, and Fernandomania was born. What was it like covering a team and a player that started a movement, and you were there for the first pitch?
Yes, Fred Clare assigned me to be with Fernando because I worked for the Dodgers and I was on the road with the Dodgers, so he thought that I was the proper person. They were using a couple of players or Manny Mota, a coach, as an interpreter for Fernando, but the Dodgers thought that it was too much to ask the players to do that, so they asked me to be with him, and it was an experience that I can really tell you how big it was. I enjoyed his company very much. He didn't talk much, but I had to help him in many regards. As you said, to me, the Fernandomania started not in 81, but in 80, on that last series against the Houston Astros, and the extra game that they had to play in order to go to the World Series. Unfortunately, they lost the extra game against the Astros. John Nicro was pitching fantastically well. The people thought that Fernando should start that game, but Lasor, I think, was right. You can't give a game like that to a kid who got pitched only 2 or 3 innings in the major leagues. The one in Atlanta, that's it. So it was Jerry Royce supposed to start in 81, but in 1980, Fernando saved one game, won another game, and didn't have nothing to do with the third game, and the Astros went to the World Series that year.
And then in 1981, Jerry Royce gets hurt, so Fernando makes the roster and starts pitching every 5th day. And his first, several outings were unbelievable. Didn't give up an earned run, and that's really when the momentum started going crazy and people really started paying attention. What do you remember about the start of the 81 season with Fernando in the starting rotation?
not only Jerry Royce couldn't play, after Royce, it was Bert Hutton in line to pitch the second game. So they asked him to pitch, but he got hurt a couple hours before the game. So Fernando was working out in the bullpen, so they asked Fernando. They didn't have any other choice, and you know what happened after that game. It was just unbelievable. This kid, what he did on the mound.
Such a special pitcher, obviously had that really strange, screwball, that unorthodox delivery. Jaime, watching him, at what point did you know that he was something special?
Well, we knew something about him because he got a picture, I think, about 21 scoreless innings in San Antonio, AA, before joining the Dodgers. So we knew something about him. But of course, when he joined the Dodgers, he didn't have the screwball. He learned later on to pitch the screwball. That's what made him so special.
There's so much that we can talk about when it comes to Fernando, but what's something that a lot of people don't know about him, Jaime? Because he was such a quiet person, such a private person, but those that do know him know how funny he was. What are some of your favorite moments spending time with him?
Yeah, he was funny, he was tricky sometimes, and he was playing around with his teammates, and he was very special. I spent some time with him outside of the diamond, going to the White House in Washington, going to some other places. We used to go one day ahead of the team in order to accommodate the media, to go into New York, to Washington, to Atlanta or to Chicago. And so we had a great time. We had a really great time. He was very shy. The only advice that I gave him was, Fernando, when we are facing the media, you don't have to answer every question that they ask you. If for any reason you don't like that question, just politely say, I'm sorry, I don't care answering this. Next question, please. And he followed that instruction very well, but he never avoid the media. Never. He was always ready. He was always ready, and he was very, very unique in that regard.
And obviously everybody in Los Angeles loves him. There's so many people that are Dodgers fans because of such a large Spanish-speaking Mexican-American community in Los Angeles. But obviously the country of Mexico, he's their beloved son. When the Dodgers and the Padres played in 2018 in the Monterrey series, obviously you and I were there covering the team. And I remember going to Mexico, going to Monterrey, feeling like we were going with royalty. What do you remember about that trip and going back to Mexico with Fernando at that time?
Well, in that time, it was very unique because the relationship between the Dodgers and Fernando's agent wasn't well. So we went to Monterrey, and there were some problems there. Fernando wasn't happy at all. He wanted to stay with the Dodgers, and I don't know what happened, really. But it was a very unique series in Mexico, and of course, the Mexicans were delighted to see him over there. Alanna, Fernando, to me, is one player that created so many new baseball fans that nobody else. Not only in favor of the Dodgers, but in baseball in general. People from Mexico, from Central America, from South America, that didn't care about the sport, they became Dodger fans. That's unique. That's unique.
He's the only pitcher in Major League history to win Rookie of the Year and Cy Young Award honors in the same season. And the Dodgers are pretty strict, Jaime, as you know, about retiring numbers. You are obviously retired and on that ring of honor for the Dodgers. And finally, in my opinion, the Dodgers doing the right thing and retiring number 34. And I'm so grateful that Fernando was alive and able to see that happen. There he is, of course, at Dodger Stadium. Manny Mota, Oral Hershiser unveiling the number, the great John Suhu taking the photos, the longtime photographer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. How important do you think that was for him, Jaime, as you are there with Mike Brito, Mike Scioscia? Mike Brito, of course, the scout that found Fernando in Mexico. How important was that for Fernando? Because he's not a guy that is a look at me guy. He hates attention. But how important was that moment for him?
I think inside he was really savoring the best of everything. He was really excited. He didn't show any excitement usually, but I saw him smiling. I saw him when he walked from the bench to the mound. He really was enjoying that, and he I was very pleased to see that the Dodgers did that because he belonged there. It was long overdue for retiring Fernando's number, and people were clamoring to the Dodgers for several years. Do that, please. I don't know why they didn't, but finally they did. I am glad they did because he deserved that.
Absolutely. He also deserves, in my opinion, to be in the Hall of Fame just because of what he meant to the sport. I mean, it was a movement. Fernandomania was not a moment. It was a movement. Before I let you go, Jaime, you guys were broadcast partners too, obviously. On the Spanish side of things, you were behind that microphone for 64 seasons. You were in the Hall of Fame. You were in the Radio Hall of Fame. You are a legend in your own right. What was some of the fun moments for you as we see you guys laughing in the broadcast booth? What did you enjoy about being a broadcast partner of Fernando's?
Well, I was very fortunate to be in Houston when he came to the United States and came to the Dodgers. And I was as glad also when he joined the broadcasting crew of the Dodgers. I was there to greet him. I assigned him the chair on my left side and tried to help him. He was very nervous. He was because he wanted to do well, and he admitted to me that I don't know if I'm going to do well, but I told him the thing is that you know the game very well, so just tell what you see, what you feel, and he did that. He did that. It took some time to have him relax in the booth, but eventually he became a very good analyst.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaime Jarrín, it is an absolute pleasure every time I get to speak with you. Thank you so much. Nobody knows Fernando better than you do. Thanks for taking the time to be with us on High Heat, and we appreciate you always.
I will always remember that I had it sit next to me in the bus for you, Alanna.
Yes, thank you for always being so kind and saving me a seat, my friend. I love you very much. We'll talk soon.
Very nice talking with you. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here. Thank you.
You are welcome, Hall of Famer. We'll talk soon. Coming up here.